Now, Libya's ousted leader, Muammar Gaddafi, has vowed to fight until victory as his forces launched surprise attacks on 3 fronts. It was on Monday. Joining us now on managing risks for business in Libya is David Butler. He's CEO of Control Risks Southern Africa. David, thanks so much for your time. From your assessment, how difficult is it to operate in Libya at the moment? I mean, we know they've just come out of this political turmoil, some sort of civil war, but many investors are hungry to get in there, particularly tapping into the oil fields.
Absolutely. I mean, the international oil companies need to get back and need to start production. And from the interim government perspective, you know, they need to get oil pumping again, because that brings in well-needed revenue to provide the basic goods and fuel to get the country's economy back up and running.
How pervasive are the risks? Is it a question of conflict concentrated in select areas, or is the whole country under threat?
Well, I mean, we've known from the movements that the capital's pretty secure, and Benghazi's pretty secure, and lots of from Control Risk perspective, lots of the clients who are going in to look at restarting business are going into Tripoli and Benghazi. The problems become evident when you start moving south or towards the loyalist strongholds of Sirte on the coast, and Bali Wahid, and further down towards the Sahara region. And that's where we feel there's going to be a long-term challenge for the interim government. The pockets of resistance, the proliferation of weapons, and the sort of the fractionalization of the militias that are supporting the opposition groups.
And I mean, obviously, those who are loyal to Colonel Gaddafi are also trying to sabotage the economy so that the new Transitional National Council can't profit from the resources like oil. We've heard of attacks on oil installations and refineries, for instance. For those who are looking to invest in this oil economy, shouldn't they be holding back a little bit?
I think companies need to go in and start to develop relationships with the transitional government. I think that security is absolutely critical to making sure that these oil fields come back on stream. There have been a number of attacks. There were attacks in April, there were attacks in May, and the recent attack this week. But they've been really as a reaction to the transitional government's declaration of restarting oil production. And you know, they've restarted oil production, and on Sunday they declared, and we've seen 160,000 barrels per day being pumped to Ras Lanuf, the export terminal. But we also have seen a reaction to that, an attack. 15 people died. We believe that they were militia guarding the refinery and export terminal. However, there's not been any infrastructure damage. So the primary concern is to establish security in those strategic points of interest. The oil fields, the refineries,
we know that Libya
the
produces something in the region, and you can correct me here, of about 2 million barrels of oil, but there's still a lot of untapped potential. We're told that a lot of oil companies need to go in there looking for prospecting rights, looking to set up exploration facilities in the near future.
Exactly.
How safe is it to go and do that at the moment?
Right at the moment, very difficult. I think, you know, when you look at the pre-uprising production levels of 1.6 million barrels per day, we are predicting, Control Risk is predicting, that's going to take 18 to 36 months to get back on stream, all of that. The security challenges are the short-term challenges. Once they've been settled, then any infrastructure that's been damaged needs to be repaired. Also, technical expertise needs to be brought in to bring on stream the infrastructure that's been static, not being used for the last 6 months. Remember, in the previous regime, there was although oil had been pumped, the restrictions on explorations, the restrictions on technology have meant that a lot of the pumping technology is old, and that needs to be refurbished and revitalized. And so we need to bring, you know, the transitional government needs to bring oil production back up to pre-uprising levels, and then international oil companies can come in and start to begin the exploration. From the national government's perspective, this is critical to the economy. So in the medium term, we're not going to see any sort of repercussions or political risks to those oil companies that had already been operating in Libya. So it's going to be very, very benign and very progressive, because the government knows it needs to bring production back to a reasonably high level.
Yeah. How in charge is the Transitional National Council? And I know we're focusing a lot on the oil economy because that's where they can generate foreign exchange revenues, which are much needed. But there are other facets of an economy, infrastructure that needs to be rebuilt because of this war. How in charge are they?
Well, the transitional government's been given authority and recognition by the international community. There's a lot of investment, there's goodwill, and a lot of countries are looking to invest and support. So in that respect, they're in charge. Mm-hmm. The issues come when it's about mopping up the pockets of loyalist resistance. It's a big country. There's a large area in the south that needs to be controlled. That's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, which is why we're looking at an 18-month minimum time frame to get it up to speed. The rest of the economy tends to follow on the back of oil. I mean, that is the primary driver for money into Libya.
And in terms of the Transitional National Council being a cash flush, we're told that, for instance, if the Libyan Investment Authority, if they could wrestle the levers of that particular institution from Gaddafi loyalists, they're sitting with something like $60 billion in hard cash. There are no debts to the country's current account. There are no real sovereign risks. So if they can just get a grasp of how much money is in the hands of the Gaddafi family, they could just run this economy and rebuild it off the bat. But that doesn't seem to be the case. So how else can they generate revenues, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think there is a lot of offshore assets and money that's being held that's currently attributed to the loyalist regime. Before that's released, people need to, the international community need to see very clearly that the transitional government is in charge in all aspects of the economy. And the security issues are preeminent until loyalist strongholds like Sirte are taken and become part of the new order. It's not going to be seen as the government being in charge. So security issues need to be dealt with first, and then the broader issues of the economy.
Okay, so some legitimacy questions still outstanding. They're the views of David Butler. He's the CEO of Control Risks Southern Africa.